Nobody does it better than Hertz.
Nobody does it better. Hertz leads the others by far. Nobody does it best of all. You Hertz, the superstar.
Nobody has more of what it takes to rid you of Fairmont, Mustang, LTD, or other fine car faster.
Hertz, the superstar.
You know it.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Ramblin' Mama. I'm Lisa. If you're new here and you're into deep dives on true crime, please consider giving me a subscribe. I think you'll like what you see. Before we get into today's video, I just want to give you a quick thank you. This past week, I hit 1,000 subscribers, so thank you all so much for all your support. Recently, my daughter turned 1, and I've been reflecting on everything I've gone through in the past year. A year ago, around this time, things were very scary and I was going through postpartum depression. And I just want to say that if you're going through a really difficult time, keep going. A year ago, I had no idea the way that my life would look. I wish I could go back and reassure myself that I was going to figure it out, that we were going to get through it together. The newborn phase can be it's so demanding, and the sleep deprivation, the hormones, and you're recovering from birth. If you're going through something now, sorry, this isn't medical advice. I'm not a professional. I just want you to know that when your brain is in fight or flight and you're going through something that's traumatic, you can't realistically project how things are gonna go. Give yourself some grace. Reach out for support if you need it. You deserve it. Just sending y'all so much love and gratitude. Thank you so much. Now getting into what everybody is here for. Today's episode, we're gonna go over OJ and Nicole, their relationships. I'm going to use subsequent episodes to get into the murder, the investigation, the trials. I'm not sure how long this series is gonna be, but this is the first part. Just a quick disclaimer, I am not an expert. This is just based on my own research and the research of Molly Robichaux. Thank you again, Molly, for all your hard work. Please feel free to do your own research and form your own opinion, and please remember to be kind to each other in the comments below. And without any further ado, let's get into it. O.J. Simpson was born on July 9th, 1947 in San Francisco. His aunt gave him the name Orenthal, which supposedly was the name of a French or Italian actor that she really liked. O.J.'s parents separated in 1952, and when they separated, O.J. remained with his mother. His father apparently was an infrequent presence in his life, and when O.J.'s father did show up, he was highly abusive, emotionally, verbally, and physically. As a toddler, OJ developed rickets and wore braces on his legs until the age of 5. OJ grew up in Potrero Hill, which was one of San Francisco's housing projects, which back then, during the 1950s and 60s, was a very impoverished area. Because OJ's rickets caused him to walk bow-legged, he was a magnet for bullies when he started school. But interestingly, being bullied started to give him an edge that helped him fit in very well into his neighborhood, but he also started causing some trouble. In his early years, OJ joined a street gang known as the Persian Warriors and was briefly incarcerated at the San Francisco Youth Guidance Center in 1962. During the early 1960s, Willie Mays was a black baseball superstar in a world dominated by white sports players, and he was one of OJ's heroes. One of OJ's youth counselors actually introduced him to Willie Mays, and Willie told the young OJ that a life full of crime would take him nowhere, and if he focused his energy on sports, he would be successful. Initially, OJ focused on baseball, like his hero, Willie Mays, but he soon realized that football was his true calling. OJ enrolled in Galileo High School in San Francisco. He played for Galileo High School football team, the Lions, first as a tackle and then as a fullback. OJ graduated high school in 1965. After high school, he enrolled in the City College of San Francisco for the school year of 1965 to 1966. At City College of San Francisco, OJ played running back and defensive back. He was named to the Junior College All-American team as a running back. OJ earned an athletic scholarship to the University of Southern California, where he played from 1967 to 1968. While at USC, OJ rushed 3,423 yards, and he made 36 touchdowns. OJ led the USC Trojans to the Rose Bowl twice in a row. He was a Heisman Trophy finalist both years he attended the school, and won in 1968. He also won the Maxwell and Walter Camp Award. In 1967, OJ married his first wife, Marguerite. Together they had 3 children: Arnell, born in 1968, Jason, born in 1970, and Aaron, born in 1977. Tragically, in 1979, Erin Simpson passed away when she drowned in the family's swimming pool. She was only days away from her 2nd birthday. OJ and Marguerite divorced that same year. Marguerite filed for divorce in 1977, but it wasn't finalized until 1979. Marguerite was awarded custody of their children, Arnell and Jason. Unfortunately, the couple had been struggling for quite some time before their separation. OJ had been drafted by the NFL at the start of their marriage, and due to travel because of games and endorsements, a rift started to develop between him and Marguerite, which you can imagine you always hear about with these professional athletes. It's such a strain on the relationship, and I can only imagine being a young mother left behind with young children while your football star is on the road. Also, coincidentally, in 1977, OJ met his future wife, Nicole Brown, and continued seeing her although he was married, and at the time, Marguerite was pregnant with their 3rd child. According to firstsports.com, Marguerite started to develop depression and alcoholism because of her and OJ's arguments. Again, I just want to say, going through what I went through last year with a supportive, present, understanding, and faithful partner was difficult enough. I can't imagine doing it with 2 kids and a partner who's not present or faithful. In 1969, O.J. Simpson was selected 1st overall in the NFL draft by the Buffalo Bills. O.J. demanded the Buffalo Bills pay him $650,000 over 5 years. At the time, that was the highest contract asked for in professional sports. The owner of the Buffalo Bills refused to pay the amount, which led to a standoff between him and OJ. OJ threatened to leave football and become an actor. Eventually, the Buffalo Bills owner caved in to OJ's terms. I'll get into this more later and I give my opinions and talk about the books that I've been reading on this case, but OJ is such an interesting person. I mean, I guess it's the case with everyone, but it's so clear to me how with his personality, a lot of his strengths were a double-edged sword, being that confident and self-assured, but also leaning towards arrogance sometimes. And it got him a lot of really nice things in his life. And then I think it also was the cause of his downfall, but more on that later. OJ had major expectations placed on him when he joined the NFL because of his successful career at USC. However, he struggled during his first 3 years playing professional football, which is what you'll hear a lot about professional athletes making the transition from college to pro. Oh, by the way, are there any football fans here? I personally love football.
Jonathan just got an awesome face paint job. What do you think?
I like turtles.
Soon, OJ was a star, and in 1978, he headed to San Francisco to play for the 49ers. OJ played for the 49ers for 2 years before he retired from professional football in 1979. While playing in the NFL, OJ was a 5-time Pro Bowl champion and a 5-time first-team All-Pro. In 1985, OJ was inducted into the Professional Football Hall of Fame. OJ had a 10-year career in the NFL, and it started to make me wonder about what the average length of a football career is, and it said 3.3 years is the average. Of course, it's going to vary by position and all of that, but it's not a Tom Brady length career, but that's a decent length career. In addition to excelling in sports, OJ was a very talented entertainer. In 1975, he began a relationship with Hertz Rent-A-Car. Speaking of Tom Brady, the company wanted to highlight their speed and efficient rental process, and there was no no better spokesperson for the superstar rent-a-car than the fastest man in football, O.J. Simpson. And this will give you a sign of the times, right? But there was some controversy surrounding O.J. being the spokesperson for Hertz because in 1975, his race was viewed as an issue. However, at the time, O.J. seemed to transcend race. And the owner of Hertz, a conservative company, was confident that the public thought of O.J. as O.J. Simpson and not a black athlete. Interestingly, soon after O.J. pleaded no contest to the charges against him for the assault on Nicole, one of the first calls he made was to the chairman of the Hertz organization. So that gives you an idea of how deeply embedded Hertz was in his life. And even in his interview with police, he would talk about the distinction between his different cars because one was a loaner basically that Hertz allowed him to use, and that was the only car that multiple members of his household could use because of the insurance. Hertz seemed to be as big a part of his life as football once had been. And last thing I'll say about Hertz is the reason that OJ and the Menendez brothers met. All of these people involved were in jail around the same time at the same place. In Robert Rand's book that I mentioned in the Menendez series, he talks about Eric interacting with OJ in prison, and basically Eric warning OJ that he had to kind of keep his mouth shut because OJ apparently was blabbing a lot to inmates and guards because everyone was so excited to see him. I know that's not gonna paint Eric in a good light. I don't think it should disparage him. I just think it was a young kid trying to help out who he perceived to be a friendly acquaintance. Okay, I'll stop rambling. Back to the phone call that OJ made to Hertz. OJ did the best that he could to attempt to downplay the incident. He said that he and Nicole had too much to drink at a New Year's Eve party and got into a fight. Nicole even spoke to the chairman and confirmed OJ's account of the night, and she said that the incident on New Year's was no big deal. At the time of the charges in 1989, OJ was in the middle of negotiations with the company, which was, because of OJ's charisma, the nation's top rental car company. Despite the charges against OJ, the company chose to keep him on as their spokesperson. A representative for Hertz said in May 1989, quote, "We regard it as a private matter and to be treated as such between OJ's wife and the courts." You know that would never fly today. OJ actually had begun acting before he became a professional football star. He began acting while he was at USC, and he appeared on an episode of Dragnet and in the first episode of Medical Center while negotiating his contract with the Buffalo Bills. Some of the other films and television series that OJ appeared in are The Klansman in 1974, where OJ plays a terrorist driven to violence by the KKK. Roots in 1977, based on the novel of the same name, written in 1976. Capricorn 1 in 1978, where OJ played a fugitive astronaut. In the 1980s, OJ took a turn at comedy and appeared in Back to the Beach and the Naked Gun trilogy, which I loved as a kid. Arnold Schwarzenegger has said that at one point, James Cameron considered OJ for the title role in The Terminator. In addition to the acting roles, O.J. Simpson has hosted Saturday Night Live and appeared as a commentator for professional football after his retirement. Nicole Brown was born on May 19, 1959 in West Frankfurt, Germany, to parents Juditha and Lou. Her mother was German and her father was American. After Nicole's family relocated to the United States, they settled in California. They lived in Monarch Bay, which is just south of Los Angeles. Nicole attended Dana Hills High School, where she was crowned homecoming princess. Shortly after graduating high school, Nicole met O.J. Simpson at a Hollywood nightclub where she worked. Nicole was only 18 years old. Even though O.J. and Marguerite were still married, he and Nicole began a relationship, and Nicole moved in with him almost immediately. In 1985, Nicole and O.J. married. 8 months later, Nicole gave birth to the couple's first child, their daughter, Sydney. Their second child, Justin was born in August 1988. The Washington Post wrote that OJ and Nicole had an old-fashioned marriage in which Nicole was responsible for the children and OJ had the power of the purse. But obviously, it was also a deeply troubled relationship. OJ abused Nicole throughout their relationship. According to police records, Nicole made at least 8 calls to 911 to complain about her husband's verbal and physical abuse. Although in OJ's book, If I Did It, he would lead you to believe that the only physical encounter they ever had was that infamous New Year's Eve encounter in which he doesn't even admit to striking Nicole, but rather wrestling her off of him in self-defense. In 1989, Nicole called 911 and Detective John Edwards responded to the scene. He testified in 1995 at OJ's trial about what happened when he arrived. According to Detective Edward, Nicole collapsed in his arms on New Year's of 1989, shaking and hysterically crying, "He's going to kill me." When the detectives asked Nicole who was going to kill her, she said, "OJ." Detective Edward responded by asking, "OJ? You mean the football player?" She said, "Yes, the football player." The detective gave testimony in 1995 that on that night when he responded to the call, Nicole had a split lip and a bruised forehead. OJ drove away from the scene and was later arrested. Later, Nicole told the detective that the fight between her and OJ started because at the time there were 2 women living in their home and he had slept with one of them before going to bed with her. OJ pleaded no contest to spousal abuse, and he dismissed the seriousness of the charges in an interview with ESPN. Quote, "When I look at it, it really wasn't that big of a fight," he recalled, adding later, "Hey, we had a fight. We were both guilty. No one was hurt. It was no big deal, and we got on with our lives." 3 years after the incident, Nicole filed for divorce in 1992. According to court documents from the couple's divorce, quote, "Petitioner only attended junior college for a very short time because respondent required that she be with him. Petitioner worked as a waitress for 2 months. Prior to that, she worked as a sales clerk in a boutique. She worked there for a total of 2 weeks and did not make a single sale. Although she sometimes worked as an interior decorator, her only clients were respondents and his friends, indicating how financially dependent Nicole had become on her husband. And that's what happens when you get with a man who's that much older than you. You're an 18-year-old. You haven't even had a crack at life. When OJ and Nicole's divorce was finalized in 1992, OJ was ordered to pay Nicole $433,750. He agreed to give her $10,000 in child support for their 2 children, Sydney and Justin. Although OJ would have access to the children, Nicole was granted primary custody of them. Nicole and OJ attempted to get back together, but things didn't go well. On October 25th, 1993, Nicole called 911 in tears. She said that OJ was, quote, "going to beat the out of her." During the phone call, OJ could be heard screaming at Nicole in the background. An officer responded to the scene and recorded Nicole's statement. She said, quote, "He gets a very animalistic look in him. All his veins pop out. His eyes are black and just black. I mean, cold, like an animal. I mean, very, very weird. And when I see it, it just scares me." A few months after the October 1993 incident, Nicole moved out of the home and ended her relationship with OJ again. I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but OJ's account of their relationship in his book is so different. And it's crazy because those liars who lie so hard, you think that they might even begin to believe their own bullshit. Yeah, I've been listening to the book on Audible. Not sponsored, I wish. But it's a very different experience than if you were to read it. The voice actor who reads it is so good. He has enough of a likeness to OJ and the way he sounds. I might get some heat for this, but OJ's version of reality is very seductive. It's part of what inspired the thumbnail that I made for this video. Palm trees, golf, the good life, jet setting from LA to Chicago and back again for the work that he was doing out there as a correspondent, traveling all over the place for Hertz. and having this very tumultuous tango with Nicole. For some reason, it appeals to a part of you, or I'll speak for myself, it appeals to a part of me that wants to believe that they had a very lovely life together. And it's so divorced from reality. I mean, actual documented incidents with the police. He's got an excuse, a tale for everything. I can imagine if you're someone who's close to him and you want to believe him because of his charm and charisma, maybe he's very loving to you. For instance, Nicole, I can see how it would draw you in over and over again. Anyway, I'm gonna stop it there because I could go on and on. As per my name, Ramblin' Mama. In the next video, I'm gonna get into the day of the murders and everything leading up to that, and then we're off to the races from there. So let me know what you think in the comments below about OJ and his early life. It's kind of separated into pre-murders and post-murders. That's how I view his timeline. But were you a fan of his early on? Did you know him from his football career or from being the face of Hertz or any of his movie appearances? What did you think of him then? Were you a fan? Are you a fan of football like me? Let me know in the comments below, and thank y'all so much for checking me out, and I'll see y'all next time.